Johann Wolfgang von Goethe said, "Science and art belong to the whole world, and before them vanish the barriers of nationality." This is the Producer's Lounge podcast. I'm your host, Richard Tucci, and on this week's episode, we have producer Tony Lund, who, even though he is still in his late 20s, has had a roller coaster ride, from CEO to pauper to producer of one of America's most successful science shows, rubbing shoulders with Morgan Freeman and Stephen Hawking. As one of the producers of Through The Wormhole, the hit show explores the deepest mysteries of existence, the questions that have puzzled mankind for eternity. Is there a creator? What was before the Big Bang? And why do hipsters wear Hawaiian shirts? Tony sat down with me to smoke some fine cigars. FYI, you may hear some tapping at certain points in the interview, and that was because we were topping off our cigars in the ashtray, and we had acquired quite the pile of cigar ash during the interview. Here now is my sit-down with producer Tony Lund.
Yeah, are we recording? We going?
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, cool. Awesome. So, I learned really valuable lessons about storytelling in that class because there's this temptation whenever you start writing any story, the deeper you go into it, the harder it gets because your choices are somewhat limited and you want to be surprising. And so there's always this temptation when you're writing like, a romantic comedy, when they're like, you don't know how you're going to resolve a problem. And you're like, how are they going to get through this big reveal? And like, how is she ever going to trust him again? And then you have this idea, you're like, fuck, what if aliens just landed? What if it... And it sounds ridiculous, but we all do this because it's totally easy. Because suddenly, like, aliens land, and there's all these fucking problems. Like, you realize this shit. I gotta get her out of here because I really love her, and then she's gonna see the good side of him, and then he's gonna kick some ass, so we're gonna love him more. You're like, wow, there's so much character in that. But at the end of the day, you're having aliens show up out of nowhere, and that's bad.
Deus Ex Machina.
Yep, totally bad. So I learned that's falling off the horse. And it's a natural tendency for, when you're writing to do that. It's no good. But anyway, yeah, Paul Wolf's a great guy.
So you were attracted to writing in the beginning then?
Actually, I don't know if you recorded. Did you record all this stuff about me being a hipster in high school?
Might have been, yeah.
Okay, that's totally fine. Yeah. You use all that. So I originally, the funny thing is that, I got into filmmaking at a very, very early age. Like when you're a kid, you have these naive fantasies of what you're going to be when you grow up. And so I was convinced, being a 12-year-old with a black belt in Taekwondo, that I was going to be a Power Ranger. Not like a actor on the show, mind you, but like a legit Power Ranger. Like the forces are evil, the forces of evil are prevalent, and somebody needs to fight them. Power Rangers. So when you start to realize that that's not really going to pan out the way you want it to, other things become apparent. And I figured out, like when I was 13, I realized that anybody can make a movie. So I had this naive idea that I was going to, I talked this over with my friends, and I was like, we should make a movie. Cameras exist, lights exist, story and actors exist. We should make a movie, and we'll totally submit it to Sundance.
Local fan favorite, there you go.
Exactly, because Sundance will totally take the cinematic musings of a 13-year-old. So that's what attracted me into it. So by the time I got to USC, I was convinced I was going to be a director. That was my thing. It was like writer-director type. And that's kind of what we all want to do, because that's the fantasy. That's the person who we most laud for being the creative force behind a film. And, when you're really young, it's impossible not to ignore auteur theory. Like, you want to be Steven Spielberg or you want to be Darren Aronofsky. And inevitably, I discovered in film school I was actually a really talented producer. And so that's...
How did that discovery come about?
I had these great visions for films, like all film students do. Mm-hmm. They were all awful, but nevertheless, at the time, they were great visions, and they were just these really profound, amazing, award-winning films that just had to come out of the uterus of production. So in other words, both.
I want to just germinate on that mental image for a little bit. The uterus of production.
Yep. That's basically...
That's the title for this episode.
Yeah, the uterus of production. I both metaphorically and physically spent a lot of time inseminating things in college, and still to this day, and nearly 99% of it is fruitless. So that's the story of... So, kids out there, you want to be a producer? Do you like fruitless insemination? Of course you do. You're a little wanker like all the rest. Try producing. You'll love it. They pay you obscene amounts of money to wank. And each time you think you're making love. Those few times... But then what makes it all wonderful is the few times where actually something does, some sort of fruit of the loom takes hold. Which, by the way, do people realize that that's what that phrase means, fruit of the loom? It means your balls. Like, how amazing is that an underwear company, because a loom is it's what you used to, weave with back in the day. So the phrasing was like your clothes, where people would, like in Shakespeare's day, you would sarcastically call them like your looms, or you would loom. So the fruit of the loom would be whatever clothes holds your balls. And an underwear company comes along and they're like, "What's the name of our company? How about Ball Fabric?" It's great.
Here's what I didn't understand. As you started telling me that story, you just like spread your legs as wide as possible.
All right, you're editing that out. No, that has nothing to do with the story. That has everything to do with the horribly uncomfortable couch I'm sitting on.
Oh, okay.
So how I discovered my producing tract was, so I had all these great ideas, and there's all these films, these great, wonderful, terrible wanker films. These films I was going to wank out, and I wanted to make them happen. I was determined to make them happen. So I would spend all of my energy and time and resources amassing these armies of students and colleagues and people and resources to make these movies. And the first one I did was before I even got to my production classes. I said, "Fuck it! Like I'm gonna make a movie." And I was one of those kids who got who was lucky enough to be in a high school had a digital camera that I could rent out. So I was always making these bullshit short films throughout high school.
Right.
And so when I was a sophomore in college, I rounded up like 40 people to do this elaborate script that I wrote. There was this romantic comedy about a kid who gets the chance to meet up with the girl of his dreams, but as he's trying to write down the address of where he's going to meet her, he runs out of ink. So he has to go on this elaborate comedy of errors to find a pen. And what I realized, so I produced these things and they were great, but I was spending so much time and energy on making it happen that I never put the required time and effort into the script, or the directing, or the refining, or the constant creative polishing that you normally do with a show. And so I was a shitty writer and a shitty director, and that's what pushed me into a producing track. And what I found was that I was really good at it because I had no qualms getting on the phone, calling people, asking for favors,
just cold calling out of the
cold calling. Right. Oh yeah, I produced a short film where I cold called Christopher Walken to try to get him to do my movie, and he was like, and he declined for good reason, but he actually considered it for a minute. Like, it was really cool.
The real Christopher Walken.
The real Christopher Walken. We just worked channels and like hit this thing, and we had this vain vision that our senior thesis film would have this cameo by Christopher Walken, and he basically told us like, applaud your efforts. And I've considered this, but it's just not going to work with my schedule. But thank you.
Christopher Walken's number.
The usual way a producer works, trickery. So, and when they sent us this email, this is like from the office of Christopher Walken, I just assumed it was him typing. I also assumed that he really considered our project and wasn't just giving us lip service. But
and you heard his voice in your head, like titty sprinkles.
No, like titty sprinkles. The Morgan Freeman effect. You see a picture of Morgan and you can't read it in any other voice. Which is
so you're out in film school at USC.
Mm-hmm.
What years are you there?
I'm at USC 2003 to 2007.
So then what resources did you take advantage of while you were at film school in order to further your career for when you graduated and prepare for that?
I cultivated a lot of relationships with really talented people that ended up really shaping my trajectory. I got really lucky in that after film school, I never had to take a job. Like a lot of people after film school, they kind of go into like an assistantship, or they try to get go into the studios or corporate culture, or they try to just break out and like do their film, which actually happens more with grad students, or they try to get on set and work their way through set. I had this really strange experience where a group of my friends at the time, we had this idea to build a animation studio, and I was able to raise funding from a venture capitalist in the Bay Area.
Okay, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, so this was I raised a ton of money and we got funded, which is really cool, because there's a whole community of people in the Bay Area that they call the funded, because like that's the culture. It's like everybody's got a startup. You go to any cafe in Los Angeles and you go up to somebody and you're like, tell me about your script, and they'll be like, oh, well, my script is built. Everyone can do that. What's interesting is in the Bay Area, everybody's got a startup company. So you just go to a cafe and you're like, tell me about your startup company. You're like, yeah, it's called Zazoogle. And like it's a place for integration, and they don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. They're like, it's a place for social integration of media trends and for people to communicate and share and synergize the data that's in their lives. Zazoogle, And so everybody has this, and everybody's bullshit until you actually can point to a firm that actually funded your startup, and then you suddenly everybody wants to meet you, and that's what was cool. Like we got to meet all kinds of super successful, awesome people, and we got to take meetings with heads of studios.
Holy shit!
Yeah. So
like, who did you meet with? Sorry, I can ask. Like,
we met with a lot of people at Warner Brothers. Like a lot of people up the food chain. They were really interested in us. We met with a lot of people at Paramount.
So like Jeff Robinov?
No, not that high. More like VP of production level.
Okay.
So we also met with Lionsgate.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it was fun. We did what I now know is called the water bottle tour, which. If you haven't ever done it, it's great. It's where you have a hot project and everybody wants to meet with you, and you do this whole tour of like every company and the big and the small, and you make all these friends, and they love you, and everywhere you go, everybody gets a hard on for each other. You're like, yeah, we want to work with you, and then you leave with nothing but a bottle of water. So the water bottle tour.
I like it.
Yeah. Which is fun, because then you like that's it's part of the process, but it's a lot of fun. So inevitably that company though, we got funded in 2007, which was when money was cheap, and venture capitalists were like, yeah, let's find some new dangerous high risk high reward projects, and then inevitably this thing happened in 2008.
Yeah.
And the markets crashed and money became expensive, and so we didn't get renewed. So there's this,
renewed for funding.
Yeah, exactly. There's this thing where as soon as you get funded, what they tell you is like they lay out the plan. Like, here's stage 1. We're going to give you this obscene amount of money. And then, like, stage 2 is we're going to give you an even more obscene amount of money. And then stage 3 is we're going to take you public. And that's when you're going to become a gazillionaire.
So basically they were modeling you after, like, Pixar.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what the idea of the company was it was Pixar on a penny. So instead of doing 3D animation, which the market had gotten to the point where it's to make quality films is about brute force. That's why most lower budget CG films don't do very well unless they're ultra low. There's this no man's land. If you're going to make an animated feature, you have to do it for $10 to $20 million, which is super low budget, or you have to do it for $150 million plus.
And you get Angelina Jolie to do the voice and everything.
Totally. Or not even, though. I think that's part of the DreamWorks model. I could debate you all day about, the intricacies of animation production, but so our model was on the low end, and we were focused on doing 2D features, which we felt was underrepresented in the market. Like, people, if you had a really high quality 2D feature, people would go see it. Not as many people as like a Pixar movie or something with a brand name, but if you made Beauty and the Beast and it wasn't Disney, but the storytelling was aces and you got all the critical acclaim, and you released it and you made Beauty and the Beast for $15 million, well, you would only have to have a worldwide gross of maybe 40 to start turning a profit on theatrical. So, that's pretty, that's accessible to do in a family feature market. So that was the thesis of the company, and we had a lot of fun. And it ended.
You set up offices and the whole.
Yeah, we did. Our offices were in Hollywood.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that ended. And that put me in an interesting position because I had a lot of knowledge and expertise at a very young age, but I also was very young and inexperienced. So I was too, I had too much experience to go get like an assistantship. Nobody wanted me. Nobody wanted me as an assistant, which I don't blame them because I'd be a shit assistant. I'm just not good with like detail management, and it's no good. Also, being anywhere at 9 a.m. in the morning is too early for me.
Yeah, that sucks.
I like to work from 10:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's kind of my schedule.
Well, let me go back a second. You had this. You got an obscene amount of money from these people up in the Bay. What kind of materials did you go in with? Did you have spec trailers? Did you just have a business plan, or did you have numbers?
So, whenever you go to a buyer, you have to cater to what they're looking for. In the case of the Bay Area people, we'd actually done a lot of homework on the industry, so we came in with two items. We came in with a creative prospectus on our first feature that we were going to make, and then we also came in with a business plan for how the studio would work. And that was based off of extensive research and just calling up people and asking them for input.
Cold calling again?
Cold calling, exactly. Yeah, calling people up, saying like the reality is you can get anybody on the phone if they have a vested interest. If they have some type of interest in you can get anybody on the phone. So especially people who we called up people who were running like animation studios for TV. We're saying like, hey, can we just talk to you about your company and how you built it and what you did and what your expenses are, and like we're thinking of starting this company and we're gonna do this film. And they say, yeah, sure, totally. You go out to lunch, you chat, and and that's how we built the company. That's how we built our knowledge base, and that's how we could go in with viable market numbers, things that were verified from sources. So that's what they need. They need some type of evidence that what you're doing is going to make a lot of money, and that's what they care about most. So with the VC people and with film funds and with like money people, like they need hard evidence. You can't just go like the worst thing is people always open with this this thing they say like if we just cornered 1% of this market, like it's $1 billion market. If we just got 1% of this market, that's $10 million. Shit like that, and that always fails. So what they really want is they want you to come in and show them something that all of the big people overlooked. And that's what we had. We had something that everybody had overlooked, which is that people were so hopped up on 3D animation because of the success of Pixar. So that's the gold standard where we came in and said there's another way to do this that's not totally alien. Because like with a family market with mostly young people, they watch television, and television at the time we started this company in 2007 was still, I'd say, 70% 2D and 30% 3D. So there's never a sense with a kid that like, oh, 2D instantly means lesser quality. It's just a different style. So our idea was to do something that was 2D. It would still be a stereo 3D film. It would just be 2D animated.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, really interesting.
Now, but then when you go to a creative studio or when you go to what's called smart money, people who invest in movies for a living, then it's exclusively creative content. You don't want to go in with numbers because then you look like an asshole.
Right.
Like if you go in and you're like, hey, here's the current market for like a science fiction film that stars Will Smith. It's great. It's like they're gonna look at that and say, fuck you. Like we know more about this market than you do because your job is to generate creative things and our job is to interpret whether or not those will make money. So you just want to go in with like, here's the story, here's the characters, here's the world, here's the team. It's gonna make it.
Okay. So then this company falls apart, and then you're out kind of on your own, figuring out what's next. And then what take me through the motions. What are you thinking about when you're in this period of 6 months of not sure?
Oh, it was about a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
2 years, and it was one of the darkest times in my life.
Really?
Yeah, it was very, very difficult because it was the first taste I had of possible monumental success, and the other side of that coin is monumental failure. And they're really both of the same thing, because whether you have monumental failure or monumental success, you grow so much and you learn so much wisdom. And so dealing with monumental failure was profound. And so that's what I was stuck with for 2 years. And it was really, really, really painful because it puts you in this no man's land where, like I said, you can't really go up through the normal channels. So you have to find something else, and you have to launch something else. Otherwise you're in trouble. So during that time, I was on unemployment. I was actually teaching physics at UCLA.
Wow.
Yeah, there's yeah, that was a whole other story. Like I was teaching physics and I was on unemployment, and I was barely holding on, paying the bills. I have these amazing, wonderful parents that are lower middle class. Like my mom's a school teacher and my dad works for the State Department of Health, and so they don't have any money, but they scraped together money. And took out loans to
oh my God.
So I didn't have to, so I didn't lose my house and my car.
And these are your adoptive parents?
Yeah. Okay. And they're just the best. So you scrape by. And I certainly, like it was a time of great soul searching. In fact, I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story about soul searching. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out what my steps are. surrendering's not an option. I got to do something else. And I tried. I had a lot of false starts. I was like chasing scripts, but really as a producer at my level, without anything that actually got produced, it diminishes your likability. So I mean, you know just as well as I do that it's all a game of leverage and what you can leverage and what you know and what your expertise is. So I had expertise in fundraising and I had expertise in animation, but I couldn't get anything else to click. So I would chase after things and they would all fall apart. And so I'm spending a lot of time soul searching, and one of these things was I thought I'd go out into the woods. It's like I would go out into the woods and like meditate and focus and get in touch with nature, and so I have a little bit of survival training from my days in Utah, because Utah's a very like grab your gun in the Book of Mormon because the war's coming. You know? So like, and you know, we'd spend weekends as a 12-year-old like learning how to survive by digging snow caves and like learning how to hunt. And they're very into like the world's gonna go back 3,000 years any second now, and we're all gonna like doomsday preppers is a hot show in Utah because most of us see that as like quackery. They call that reality programming.
Oh my god.
So I had survival training. So I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go into the woods for a weekend without any food, with nothing but a compass, and I bought a BB gun because it's like a pellet gun that I could actually hunt small game with, and so the idea was to like survive, like go on a survival trip and use that to really get in touch with myself and with nature and with existence, and then so I thought I would also bring along a couple of joints to help the philosophical debate come through. Well, here's how this went down. So I drive up to Santa Barbara, and I get to the campsite, and I'm like ready to disconnect with nature and connect to the universe. And there's just like families everywhere, like blasting fucking like mariachi metal, and everybody, like there's all these people just like with big old like 48 packs of bud in their RVs, and like I can't get away. So I'm trying to find some place in the Santa Barbara National Forest to like get off the grid and go just shoot some squirrels or catch some fish and eat them. And so the sun's setting, and so I wander off into the woods and I go off the trail, and you know I have a map and a compass, and I'm an Eagle Scout, so I'm confident everything's copacetic, and I come along a little clearing, and I'm like, okay, this is a good place to set up camp. I set up camp, get everything ready, and I'm like, good. It's like time to think, meditate. So I spark up. I've had this terrible relationship with weed. Like, I love the idea of weed, and I'm very pro legalization, but God Almighty, is that the worst drug for me, because I don't get philosophical. I just get paranoid about legitimate things, and I just get kind of annoyed whenever I smoke weed. So here I am in the woods, and I'm like cooking up my one item of food that I brought, which is a can of beans. Oh. So I'm like cooking that over the fire, and like so I and I'm like high as balls, and I'm getting ready. I'm like really excited for my soup, my bean soup, and so I'm like sitting there eating, and the bowl slips out of my hand, and I get covered in soup. And I'm like, oh, fuck it, I'm trying to clean this up. And then I start to think, holy shit, I'm in bear country. And now I smell like a delicious meal. Like, fuck. Oh my God. What did I do? Like, how? And then I look, I'm like, fuck, what can I do? It's like, and then I look over at my BB gun. I think I brought a toy gun into the woods to find myself, and now I smell like delicious food. I'm like, hey, Tony, and my heart's pounding. I'm like, calm the fuck down. Calm the fuck down. So I lie down, and I'm like in my little blanket, which is way too thin, by the way, because it gets cold at night. So I'm realizing also that I'm a terrible Eagle Scout, and it's been like 6 years since I've had to survive in the woods, so I obviously didn't prepare and overestimated my like ability to be a primitive man.
Yeah.
And being high, suddenly all the sounds of the woods are creaking around me. Twigs are breaking. What the fuck? What is that? And I'm thinking like, and so I think in my mind, okay, you gotta run. You gotta go back to your car. You gotta run.
Oh my god, in the middle of the woods at night.
In the middle of the woods at night, pitch black.
Oh my god.
And like, I can find my way back. I gotta go back to my car. I gotta get out of here. It's scary. It's scary. Oh god, I could get eaten by a bear because I smell like food. And what follows is the longest 3.5 hours of my life. But I stuck it out. I stayed there in my soup-drenched, cold, freezing blanket of misery in the middle of the predator woods. And I woke up the next morning. This is, by the way, like day one of my 3-day outing.
Uh-huh.
And I woke up and I realized, you know what? When the chips are down, when things are really scary, I don't run. I have all these bad qualities about myself, and all these things that led into the failure of my company, and all these, you know, just shitty things about myself that we all have. But the one thing I really, really like, and I realize the one virtue that I have is that if things are really frightening, I have courage. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that's it. That's it. I just have to have some courage to go into this next era being a failed entrepreneur, find the next thing, have the courage to let that go, and reinvent myself. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, well, cool. Well, fuck this. I don't need to be here for another 3 days. Like, I don't need... So I picked up my BB gun. I walked out. I saw a bird on the way out. I was like, well, you normally would have been my lunch, but I'm done here. I got what I needed. I'm on my way out. So I went to the Santa Barbara Brewing Company, got myself like a liter of beer and ate a cheeseburger because I was starving. And I went back home and I faced life. It was great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so cool.
Yeah, so... Yep, that's how I...
And that's at the end of your 1.5 to 2 years of darkness?
Yeah, that's close to the end. So, inevitably what happened... I also realized I was doing what I should be and just constantly going out to... constantly meeting people... Mm-hmm. Doing things, and I ended up on the set of a really low budget horror film being shot at the Playboy Mansion.
Were you working for free or just PAing for?
There was a friend of mine who called me. He was like, "Hey, you want to go hang out at the Playboy Mansion?" I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Nice. And I get there, and they're like, "You need to sign this extra release." I'm like, "Oh,
okay.
Oh, I see." And then all the you know, they didn't have beer; they just had like apple juice, sparkly apple juice, and. So it was a working set, but it was, yeah. So anyways, but it just so happened that there was a guy there who I got really good friends with. Mm-hmm. One of a guy named Seth who was dating this girl who was working for this company that was approached to do this show for Morgan Freeman for the Science Channel, and they needed a film producer with a physics background.
Nice. There you go.
Well, fuck. Yeah. So I met with the showrunner, and it was like instantly fell in love with each other. Mm-hmm. We're the same people. He's kind of like the guy that I want to be like when I grow up. Except he has a PhD, and I don't. I'm a, you know, I wasn't cool enough to go get my PhD.
So this is 2009 though. Now.
Yeah, 2009.
Okay.
I meet James Younger, who's like the British version of me. Mm-hmm. So when I'm super old, and just kidding, he's not that old. If he listens to this, though, I gotta take one stab at him.
When you're super old and British,
yeah. When I'm super old and British and have a PhD in biophysics, then I'll be like James Younger. But we're very similar. We get along. We're both big science geeks. Mm-hmm. You know, total nerds. for like hardcore science, and so he hired me on to as a producer on the show, and that's where I've been since.
All right. I mean, it's such an astonishing thing for me, because in Hollywood you can go from being, and I've had this similar experience. Like I was coming up through the reality world, and I was kind of going up as an associate producer. At one point, I was talking with this guy. He was a real estate guy, and he wanted to give us. This was 2007, of course, and he wanted to give us $2 million for this first feature film that I was going to produce, and my buddy had written and was going to direct. And then the financial collapse happened. All the showrunners that I had been working with, their costs got cut in half. So as an associate producer, I was now competing with lead producers for the same job.
Yeah.
So and then I think out of that year following that, I had one job, which was working 2 weeks on Next Iron Chef season 2, and then I got another opportunity, and things have been okay since then. But then when you have that, everything can turn around in a second. But so now you're on Through the Wormhole. In that first season, what was it like? Because this was really a groundbreaking thing. There was Nova on PBS, but there wasn't really great science programming out there, because TLC had kind of gone the route of,
the route that inevitably ends with Honey Boo Boo.
Yeah.
Like the downward spiral of seduction into cheap reality thrills.
Yeah.
I know that well. Actually, I was I almost got tempted into that route once when I was pitching a project with a girl who was really close with the Suicide Girls company, and we were going to do this really dirty reality show about the wives of rock stars, just catty, bitchy women. And I did this. Yeah, that's a whole other. I got. Thank God it never got picked up or financed, because otherwise, But I was seduced into that world of like, you think you're like, I'm just gonna do this sort of shit for a while and build up some money. And then, oh, bad idea. Bad idea. So season 1 of Wormhole was we didn't really know what we were doing, and that's inevitable for any show, because it takes some time to really figure it out, to really hone in on what it is. And because of that, you said there was like Nova and there's Nova out there. There's also How the Universe Works, and there's also The Universe. Those are like, and those are very like cut and dry science documentary shows, except Nova. Nova's awesome. And to anybody else who's listening, the other shows are really cool too. I'm just being biased because I love my show, but I'm sure they're great, and there's a lot of art that goes into them. Now, don't flame me.
Which is the show that comes directly before Wormhole on?
Oh, I should know this, but I don't, because
I think it's one of the ones you mentioned. Like,
yeah, it's probably How the Universe Works.
Okay,
that's my guess. So anyway, so these shows though, they are notoriously low budget, and we're no exception. And the reason why is because you go to ad buyers and you have to give them something to say, this is what we're predicting this will do ratings wise, and that's how you sell ads. And you can only estimate what else is on the market, and then throw in, but also our host is Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
So we have a obscenely low budget, and we still do to this day, because all the metrics are, once you have a budget, you really it's hard to increase it. We got a little bump on season 3, but not by much. So so it's an obscenely low budget, and Morgan did it because the genesis of the project was with his company. In fact, Morgan actually he gets paid basically scale to do this. Like, he gets paid not a lot of money.
Really? There's not a lot of overhead on it for star overhead?
No. It's Morgan is like, he's based for what his quote normally is. Even his low budget quote, like passion project film quote. It's so low beyond even that he gets paid, but he's basically donating his time just because he loves the show. It's his favorite thing to do.
Right.
He loves the show. He loves us. It's all because it's all Morgan's company that does this show. It's all Revelations Entertainment. So because we have that freedom to have authorship over the show, and we get to do what we want. for the most part, then everybody loves it, and he loves it. So we're like super lucky in that regard, because otherwise we could not afford Morgan Freeman.
Now that first week you're hired on as a producer, what is your role in that first week of that first season?
So I was brought on first as an AP.
Okay.
Which in the nonfiction world, APs are kind of like producers, and producers are more like directors. So what I was doing was a lot of causing the film to happen on a logistical level. So I'm sort of half producer, half UPM, or no, not UPM, more like line producer.
You are, because I've done AP, and it's a surprising amount of logistics work.
Exactly, lots and lots of logistics. I had two roles really. I first was logistics. I oversaw 2 films, setting everything up, getting all of our experts, getting locations, getting all the moving pieces that go together to make the film happen. And then the second part also was overseeing the science content. So we...
how big is the staff at this point? Is it 2 teams, 3 teams?
So there's the immediate and there's the secondary staff. Secondary staff is like the people who do sound and graphics and picture, and so who won't include that, or like also the crews. So not including them, it's probably a staff of 20 people, maybe less, 15, 20 people.
Okay.
Since then it's grown. It's about 30 to 40 is our immediate staff now as the show's grown.
Gotcha. Okay. And that first story meeting, that first week, you say it takes a while to figure out. What do you guys talk about in that first week, that first story meeting, when there's no real archetype or template to follow? Do you just shoot the shit, pitch things back and forth?
So what was season 1, we were... Back when we had an unlimited amount of science to choose from, we thought it was so hard, but good Lord, it was so easy. Because now our problem is that we've covered so many topics that we have to find new angles into things, and that gets really difficult because we pitch an idea and like, well, we've already done that in this show. So that's really difficult. But back then, first story meeting was, what areas of science do we want to explore? Let's just focus on big topics in science. And our show is phrased entirely around asking big questions. So, and that helped us really frame the shows, because what question can we ask? And, what questions can we ask? So we ended up, our questions for season 1 were, is there a God? Which we actually we rephrased it. We said, is there a creator? Because whether or not there's a God, you can't really verify that. That's like science and faith. Those they don't really meet in a Venn diagram. But is there a creator? Well, you can say, I can look at something and say if it's created or not, because I can scientifically analyze it and find implications of design. Such as the couch you're sitting on. I can scientifically analyze it and say, oh, that was design.
The Tale of the Rabbi and the Watchmaker.
Yeah.
You never heard of that?
That, because I'm totally Jewish.
Sorry, never mind.
Sure, yeah, that. Or I guess with my people would be the story of the time that Joseph Smith said there was a creator and therefore there is a creator.
Okay, never mind that.
So, yeah. But yeah, that story, the rabbi.
Do you want me to tell you it, or should we just forget?
Okay. we'll move on from it. So, and that's a lot of the center of the argument that the intelligent design people, what they base on is like, everything has a purpose. Look, so we took that apart and looked at that argument, and we ultimately came to the conclusion that it's possible, but only on very deep fundamental levels. Like, you can't look at like animals and say, look at how intricate animals are, therefore God, or like, look at bacteria, therefore God. That whole argument of, they say this argument that if you had maybe this is part of the story of the Watchmaker, that if you had a bundle of pieces that, if you just jumbled up in a box, they would assemble into a watch. And that never would happen, so therefore there must have been a watchmaker who made the watch.
It's got,
that's it, thing. Right? Oh,
yeah. Rabbi's walking along a beach, finds a pocket watch, and says, "I've never met the person who made this, but because I see it was very intricately designed, very well crafted, I can tell that he exists." And I'm actually a deist.
Yeah.
So there's a second part of that explains the existence of God within deism. Basically, that the watchmaker had to let the watch go out into the world, and he can't fix every little imperfection, but he can fix the major times it's broken.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we ultimately come to the conclusion that if there is that level of design, you're gonna find it on like a sub-quantum mechanical level. Mm-hmm. Like you have to get to a theory of everything. You have to see how the universe works, because the intricacies of life and creation can be very well explained. Mm-hmm. But then when you get smaller and smaller and smaller, and you want to look at the universe and its fundamental building blocks, that's where you might find an answer. So that was one of our questions. We also asked things like, what's inside a black hole? Mm-hmm. This was my favorite. This is one that I came up with, was what happened before the Big Bang? That was cool. Then we also looked at, like, can we travel through time? Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff. So we came with 8 shows. We wrote them all up, started finding our cast, and made them. And when they premiered, we did really well. In fact, I produced I AP'd, mm-hmm. associate produced, which is producing in the traditional sense, but because a lot of factual television, they don't give writing or directing credit because it's so low budget, and whenever you say written by or directed by, you have to pay money to the guilds. Mm-hmm. Like, they own that phrase, directed by. You cannot have a film and say directed by, and have that be produced or distributed through a through a DGA signatory without the DGA signing off on it.
Is Discovery Channel's DGA, or
Discovery Channel is a distributor, so it rests with the individual production company. So it rests on
Revelations is signatory. Huh?
Yeah, and just to complicate the story more, at the time it was a partnership with this other company called The Incubator, which is now defunct. But they were a more nonfiction focused, and Revelations, having produced a couple of nonfiction films, partnered up with them to cover all their bases, because they Incubator had the infrastructure that Revelations didn't.
Gotcha.
That was for 2 seasons, and then by season 3 it was all Rev.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the episode that I produced, and it was directed and produced by Jeffrey Sharp. Mm-hmm. It was the premiere episode called Is There a Creator? And when it aired, it broke Science Channel records.
Nice.
So it became the highest rated premiere of all time.
Very well done, sir. Yep. Nice. So now you've been going for 4 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
How has the mood changed? How's the tone changed? Is it more like regimented or well structured? How have you grown in it? How the hell are things going on?
Sure. It's the best production I've ever been a part of. And also, okay, I get it. I'm in my late 20s. I don't have the same pedigree as these other producers, but it's a very harmonious workplace, because we're all making television that people love for all of the right reasons. Mm-hmm. There are very few people in our office who are doing it just because it's a job, mm-hmm. and who are trying to work for, trying to build up to make their other dreams come true. Like, we all love it. And also, we're very, very lucky, because we are we're on the Science Channel, mm-hmm. and we are their blue chip series. Mm. So what Breaking Bad is to AMC, or Mad Men, or Walking Dead, those are all blue chip series. Let me find a better example, because it's all really good. Okay, let's say what Game of Thrones is to HBO, mm-hmm. we are to Science Channel. Mm-hmm. They treat us really nicely. We generally get really good notes. They don't over meddle in our affairs. We have a lot of autonomy. We get to explore the stuff that we really love. Mm-hmm. We create the seasons in-house, so we're not handed topics. We create them all of ourselves. We explore new topics ourselves. People love it. We got nominated for an Emmy for season 2.
Nice.
And we it's a total dream gig because everything that we do is fulfilling on the highest of levels. In fact, the beautiful thing is now Morgan has become part of the pop culture of science. And we love that because it used to be that he was, the voice of God and Mr. Gravitas and this great kind of booming personality that everybody loved. But what's amazing now is that everybody is associating Morgan with scientific thought. And that's incredible. We just saw that happen when Morgan went on The Daily Show a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
He was out promoting the movie Now You See Me, and Jon Stewart's first thing, he comes out as like, they air a clip, and you see him in Now You See Me, and they're like, ladies and gentlemen, Morgan Freeman, and he comes out, everyone applauds, he sits down, and Jon Stewart says, you're in this movie, I'm sure it's good. Tell me about black holes. And they start talking science, and the whole interview was about Through the Wormhole. It's amazing. Everywhere he goes now, Morgan has become the poster boy for awe and wonder, and we love that, and that's because of the show, and it's amazing. It's amazing to be a part of that.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Did you realize this during the first or second season that this was probably the second season because the ratings were through the roof, but during the first season, did you realize this was going to have such an impact, or was it just like, let's hope it works?
No idea. Nobody did.
No.
You don't really know what it's going to become. People loved us enough, and the network loved us enough that we were able to talk about renewals for multiple seasons.
Okay.
Whereas most shows, it's just season to season to season, and then we started having like very long-term conversations, and that was exciting too, because it means I'll be employed for another couple of years.
Yeah.
in this game, it's great. Like the pay is wonderful, but it's guaranteed that you're gonna get fired every year.
Yeah.
Production ends, they fire you. So.
Thank God for California unemployment.
Yeah, oh my God, the unemployment is so great. I was amazed. I didn't even know that existed. I was like, wow, I lived off unemployment for a long time, and fucking hey, man, they send you checks in the mail, and you can live off those checks if you really live frugally.
And then you've grown on the show because you are now, we won't say directing, but you are lead producing. Writing and producing.
Yeah, let me show you. Actually, I am directing, believe it or not, which is cool because I just got as a writer producer. As really what I do the most is I write, and then I also produce, and now I'm a member of the Directors Guild.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's fun. I could go in there and they're like, so what do you direct? I'm like, I write scripts. They're like, welcome to the Director's Lab. Well, so here's my job. I hate to phrase it like this because it sounds greedy, but I'm a writer, producer, director. And I hate that phrase because whenever you meet somebody and you're like, so what do you do? And they're like, well, I'm a writer, producer, director. It's like, go fuck yourself. Like, no, you're not. Like, you just say that because you have high ambitions, and nobody is giving you money to do your shit, so you're just doing it all. But that is actually what I do, and so so at the start of the season, it's me and the showrunner and our senior producer, Kurt, and we sit down and we conceive of the next season. So we all come up with the ideas, the questions that we're going to ask, and then we all go write them. So we'll write them we'll write them first as a pitch, like a paragraph to a page, run it past the network, then we'll step up to like writing a 5 to 7 page outline, and then that gets approved, and we step it up to a usually 25 page scriptment. So we'll actually write out, we'll call the scientists, we'll talk to them, we'll take their responses and write them into the show. We'll actually write the show, and we'll kind of use our best educated guess of what the scientists will tell us and how the scene will flow, and then that gets approved to go into production. So during development, I spend all my time writing and also producing in a creative sense, that I'm generating ideas and producing them through development. And then when production hits, I partner up with a AP, a wonderful, my wonderful Jewish mother, Mary Benjamin, who always is looking out for me, and she's the best producer I could ask for.
Nice.
So together we'll produce the episode. I'll go out into the field, shoot it, work with film crews, film all the experts, then take it back. So I'll be directed in the field, and then we take all the footage back. It spends a couple months in post, whittling it down, shaping it, goes to graphics, goes to music, goes to picture, does the normal post route, and I'll oversee that entire process. So it's from conception to distribution.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So at this point, I basically touch every show in our season.
Nice.
And then when we actually get into production, I will physically make 3 of them.
Got 3 out of 8.
3 out of 10.
3 out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things I like about the show is that it's really visually interesting. Is that whenever it's not these like sit down interviews that you see in a lot of science documentaries. The scientists are doing things. They're describing things and showing things in these beautiful locations. Do the scientists come up with their own like vignettes, like whether it's making clay pottery or playing the guitar, or do you pitch them the ideas?
We usually come up with those ideas, and this is the joy of the show. It's also the pain of the show, because these are professional scientists, and when they get media attention, what they're expecting is exactly what you just described. Bring a camera, turn on a light, sit down, and let's talk science for 2 hours, and then let me get back to my day. Nope, not with us. Not with a primetime show. It is a full day of filming. It is 8 to 12 hours that we ask of their time.
Wow.
And it's very involved. It's very active, and that's the only way to make a show like this when you're dealing with complex topics and have you not be dead in the water. Because you start to tune out if you don't have things that visually communicate the story. So what we realized early on, and by we I mean James Younger, the showrunner, and the real genius behind the show, but I'll take credit for it. So what James figured out with the show is that questions are mysteries, and mysteries are stories. And this is really important because we have a dramatic 6-act structure with all of our shows, where we want to weave a yarn with twists and turns to uncover what truth we can about the mystery. In that regard, we're kind of like X-Files, which is fun, but we're factual. So we'll begin with a problem or a big question. And I'll give you an example. A show that recently aired that I did called Can We Survive the Death of the Sun? And you say, okay, so science now we've learned through scientific analysis of the sun that in 5 billion years, the sun's dead. It's gone. It's going to collapse into a tiny little bullshit white dwarf star. And you say, okay, well, that's 5 billion years in the future. I mean, like, if we're even around then, we'll have enough time to figure it out.
What happened when you presented Morgan with this idea?
I'll get to that. It's a funny story. But then when you really think about it, human beings are going to multiply. We're just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And so if the sun dies, you can't live on Earth. You just can't do it, no matter what, even if you're super advanced. Also, spoiler alert, in the first act, we learn that the sun not only is going to die, but it's going to take Earth down with it. So Earth is fucked. Or as we have this amazing German scientist who, and I quote the show, he said, "So we were really surprised by the results because we looked at it and said, oh shit, we are doomed." Earth is going down. So in a couple billion years, first off, in 500 million years, Earth is going to be like Venus, inhabitable by our current standards. Let's pretend that we can survive that. In 2 billion years, as the sun expands, it's going to pull Earth into it, and Earth is going away. So we have to leave. Well, okay, it's not impossible to conceive of sending out colonists, but how do you move an entire civilization? That's the mystery. How would you take the entire biomass of Earth and put it on another planet. And no matter what type of crazy sci-fi thing you want to invent in your mind, like, that's not an easy thing to do. So that's what the show explores. So that's the mystery. That's the murder at the top of the episode. And you say, oh yeah, fuck, how would you move a whole bunch of people? And then the mystery deepens and adds to more questions, like where would you go? Ultimately arriving at, okay, so now through what theoretical physics has taught us might be possible, we could go colonize other worlds if we figure out how the universe works. Got a lot of time to do it, but we have to figure it out, and that's hard.
And we're not going to get there with singing reality shows.
Nope. Honey Boo Boo is not going to get us to the stars, unfortunately. So assuming that we do that, then you have this other problem, which is that, well, eventually every star in the universe is going to go dark, and the universe is expanding, so you're going to run out of space and run out of stars. So what do you do then? Like, is there an ultimate end date for the human civilization? And if so, what would we know is when is that date where it's physically impossible for us to go on living, that we will, our civilization, all life in the universe will eventually cease to exist. Unless we figure out a way to create a new universe. And there's some physicists that think that's possible. Mm-hmm. So the idea then is you tell that as a story. And in order to have a story, you have to have some amount of drama. And our drama comes from ideas. And so we need scientists to present those ideas in a dramatic context. Mm-hmm. Luckily, because they're scientific ideas, we don't have to have scientists like calling each other like asswipes or anything, which would be great.
Hello, Fritz, I have an idea. Yes, what is it?
Yeah. Kind of hey, by the way, Fritz, your idea on string theory? Bullshit, you're an asswipe. Like, next time on Science Channel. That actually would work as a good show. Asshole physicists.
The first Science Channel sitcom?
Totally. Yeah. So we do things like in that show, we want to... dropped a cigar, and I didn't catch anything on fire, so we're good.
There you go.
So you want to illustrate that in a dramatic and interesting way. Mm-hmm. And how you make drama out of scientists is by illustrating principles. So like we had this guy, our Kraut, who figured out that the world is doomed. This amazing Kraut. And I can say that, by the way, because I'm German. So, by the way, who would ever thought that you'd have this, a Jew and a German over a pile of ash and they're friends? Sorry. Maybe you should edit that out.
I am leaving that in. Oh, no. I can top it though.
Yeah, okay, go.
So I didn't tell you, but my mother's Jewish and my father is Italian German. So
okay.
So
they probably had a lot to talk about when they met.
Every morning I wake up and want to throw myself in an oven.
Oh no. It's terrible. By the way, the only way that joke's gonna work is if people know that we're smoking cigars.
Yes.
we have to set that up. Then
I will. Don't worry.
So, nothing better than a Jew and a German bonding over a pile of ash. So, anyways. So this awesome, brilliant Kraut, who lives in Mexico, by the way, Peter Schroeder, Herr Peter Schroeder, he figured out that as the sun expands, it's going to suck the Earth in, and the way that we show this in the episode is that he lives in this town that's famous for pottery. So we have this potter that spins this bowl, and we put a little cotton ball that's on fire in the center of it that represents the sun, and then this little wooden ball spins around the bowl. Well, what happens is that the sun loses mass as it burns up. As it expands, it's also losing mass. Even though it's getting bigger, it's actually getting lighter. Mm-hmm. So just like a cotton ball, as it burns, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And this decreases the gravitational grip of the sun on the Earth. So what happens is that the pottery bowl starts spinning faster. And so you see that Earth, as it spins faster, it gets farther and farther away. So that makes you think, well, shit, the Earth is going to escape. Because the sun's losing mass, and that expands the orbit of the Earth. Right? That was the old story. Well, Peter Schroeder figured out that we weren't taking into account the tidal forces between the sun and the Earth. Just like the moon pulls on the Earth's tides, so too does the Earth pull on the liquid plasma of the sun. And that creates a bulge, and that changes the gravitational balance. So, therefore, the Earth spirals into its doom, and as he says, oh shit, we are doomed.
One of the things that we went over in that episode was something very interesting, that these miniature black holes were created as part of the spaceship to help fuel it in one segment.
Could be, not would, but could be. Yeah.
Could be.
Yes.
And it kind of brought up an inference that maybe the what I got out of it was that these like tiny black holes, which are already like super super tiny, like micron size.
No, even smaller. They're like a couple millionths the size of a proton.
That's incredibly small. Do those exist in everyday life without being created or prompted by man-made energy?
In everyday life, in the sense of like within our vicinity, the cosmos, no, because we would know. But that's a really good question: are really tiny black holes produced naturally? And nobody knows because we've never observed them. But what happens? But they're possible to observe. We just haven't ever seen them. And the reason why is what happens with these tiny microscopic, super super tiny black holes is there's this phenomenon known as Hawking radiation. Figured out by who other than like the great Robotron himself. I can say that because he's a friend of mine. So,
oh my god.
I have some great Stephen Hawking stories that I cannot say publicly, but I'll just put it like this. That dude has so much charm that he can get an obscene amount of female attention and not even like by not even moving. That's how charismatic he is.
Wow.
He's so charming that like ladies just love him.
My favorite line, actually, they covered this on The Daily Show. He was in China giving a talk, and he said, "I am so pleased to be here in China amongst Chinese culture, Chinese heritage, and most important, Chinese women."
Yep. Yep, that's it. You know what the amazing thing is? When you get to know Stephen Hawking, you know who he most closely resembles?
Who?
You're never going to believe this, but James Bond. And
okay, back the fuck up.
Yeah.
Wait, huh?
Yeah, Stephen Hawking, his fictional analog is James Bond. And here's why. Because, so Dr. Hawking has this brilliant, brilliant mind. And he's this Englishman.
Yes.
Who did very, very well in his university studies. And like by the age, when he was in his mid-20s, was already making these major breakthroughs in physics. And so... So Hawking's this young suave guy who's very charming, very smart, easily an analog of Albert Einstein. Nobody does it better. So he's already like climbing on top of the world, and when he gets this severe medical condition, he's ALS, starts getting clumsy, starts losing motor control, and eventually he gets put in this chair. So the two things happen. One, he defeats the odds. There's always this death bullet in physics that has your name on it, where if you don't win over your peers, it's a death sentence when you're trying to get like tenor. So when you're a physicist, getting tenor is like defeating a supervillain. You have to outsmart everybody. And then they say, okay, you're okay. You're good. So he's traveling around the world, going into like, layer after layer of physics labs, taking over the world. And he publishes this beautiful, beautiful paper on black holes. And without getting too technical, it basically describes the thermodynamic properties of black holes. And it beautifully explains this big problem of whether or not information, whether or not if it goes into a black hole, if it's lost forever or not, or what happened when not information, but when things go into a black hole, are they lost forever? And he elegantly explained that they're not. And this is one of the most groundbreaking, paper in physics. So here's a guy now who has just dodged a bullet, who's been to layer after layer of super high-tech labs of the evil villains of physics that are trying to destroy him, and he deftly defeats them, knowing that because of this disease, he's given a death sentence, and he knows that basically any day he's going to die. Because people with ALS don't live very long lives. So what does he do? Well, instead of like retiring after publishing this big paper and like going to a hamlet and like living the rest of his days on an English lake contemplating life, he goes in the opposite direction and takes the world head on. And he lives like there's no tomorrow. Super suave and charming. So he's going all around the world, facing impossible odds, like charming and suave and debonair as all hell, like enjoys sophisticated beverages. And like dines with the finest of humanity, and all of it comes from like this burning passion that's tied to this knowledge that at any second he could die. James Bond. It's the same character. Like James Bond is the way he is because same thing that drives James Bond. The only difference is that Dr. Hawking is a pretty shitty driver. Until Aston Martin makes a DB9 that he can control with his mind, then actually I went to his birthday party a couple of years ago, and he has this habit now, like his condition is gotten worse and worse and worse, so it's getting harder and harder for him to plunk out speech.
Right.
And he does it using a controller that reads micro twitches in his eyes, which is the last thing that he can control.
Oh, wow.
So he can't really talk that fast. So what he does is just find really clever opportunities to just chime in. Like, you'll be sitting in a room with Dr. Hawking, like I was, and I was fortunate enough to get invited to this really cool event that also happened to be on his birthday, and Elon Musk was talking about his ambitions to go to Mars. And he was talking, and he says, well, the thing is, Mars is our ultimate human ideal because we're starting to lose control of Earth, and we're not doing a very good job. So we have to look for elsewhere to really rebuild our society. And then suddenly you just hear, yes! And then he just like chimes in randomly with, yes! And everyone laughs. He's a really funny. He's a surprisingly funny guy.
I have two questions. One is a joke. One is serious.
Shoot.
I forgot the joke, so I'll cut this. Okay,
good.
Okay.
It sounds like a great line that Marlon Brando would say, like, I remember a joke in a good story. I remember the joke in a depressing story. I forgot the joke.
But how do you even when did you become friends with Stephen Hawking?
Well, I know his daughter more than I know him.
Okay.
But I know their family just through hanging out with physicists, going to conferences, listening to talks.
So from your time at UCLA, or?
No. Actually, no. This is all Wormhole, because this is all, like, I get invited to their like super secret, no media talks, because I'm friends with a lot of these people. Like, I've made a lot of friends in that community, and what they do, part of their job is they have conferences all the time where they want to get together and exchange ideas and talk in an open forum without media, because they don't want people reporting like, physicists say that the end is near, or like, physicists confirm the existence of space Jesus, or like shit like that, because most people, if you're not really technical savvy as a science writer, usually get things wrong.
Yeah.
But they invite me because they know me and they know that I'm there not to report, but I'm there to get ideas of like future episodes.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, I've gotten invited to these conferences. I'm actually lecturing at Stanford in a couple weeks.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. They're going to fly me up to Stanford, and I get to give a talk.
So, wow, that's great. So then as far as what's on the horizon, you've got a future in lecturing. You've got...
Maybe. We'll see. I'll just... Actually, what I want to do, I haven't figured out how, but what you actually do as a scientist is you do research, you figure things out, and then you publish papers.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I want to publish a paper, just to say I have, just to publish in a scientific journal, in a peer-reviewed journal.
Nice. And that's all, folks. Many thanks to my guest, Tony Lund, for a terrific interview. You can check out Through the Wormhole by going to science.discovery.com. Our music this week is Swing 39 by Lakta Swing. Please check out their website at freemusicarchive.org. You can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/theproducerslounge. Remember, you show your support for films by not downloading them, you show your support on Hulu by clicking on the commercials, and you show your support for podcasts by liking and commenting. And you can always check out our website, www.theproducersloungepodcast.com. Thank you again. I'm your host, Richard Tucci. Join us next week for more cocktails and questions, and until then, keep producing dreams.